Hey guys, in this tutorial for Slate, I'm going to go over the initial setup of Slate, some fundamental concepts of how Slate works, and show some examples. So first of all, in order to install Slate, we're going to go to the package manager. I'm going to look for Slate, and we're going to import it into the project. Press import, import all. All right, and here we go. We have our Paradox Notion folder with the Slate Cinematic Sequencer in here. So to get started, what you can do is you can go up to the Tools, Paradox Notion, Slate, and you can create a new cutscene. We get this window here. This is our Slate sequencer editor. It's just like a timeline, like if you have used Premiere Pro or any video editor, it's very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dock it underneath. I'm actually going to dock it all the way across like that. And for the inspector, I'm going to just put it on the side like that. So we get a nice full inspector, but we also get enough space in our sequencer so that we can see what's going on. So every cutscene is an object in the hierarchy in Unity, you can see here. Now, when we added the cutscene object, we also got the director camera root automatically added. And we're just going to leave that with its default settings. We don't need to mess around with that. So let's have a look at the editor window itself. So what you'll see here is that you have this group here called director. So this is the director group. And inside the director group, we have tracks. So we have a camera track, we have a director audio track, and we have a director action track. So each track can have clips. To add a clip to a track, I just right click and see here, it gives me the option to add a camera shot clip. If I click on the director audio track, I can add an audio clip. And if I click on the director action track, then I get a lot more options, which we're going to go into later. So what you'll see is that these clips are actually marked red. And that's an indication that the clip has not been set up correctly yet. So if I click it, it's going to tell me exactly what I need to do to make sure that this clip is going to work. So here it says, select or create a shot camera to be used by this clip. So we don't have any shot cameras in the scene. So I'm going to create a shot camera. And that's going to automatically create a shot camera for me. So it's added in a shot camera underneath the cutscene here. So I don't need to create these cameras manually myself. I can handle it all within Slate, which is very convenient. So now that I've added this shot camera, you can see that I have a shot preview in the clip, and I have a shot preview over here. And if I just scrub through the timeline a little bit, you'll see that my game screen updates to show that. So in order to set up this camera so that it's where we want it to be, we have a couple of options. So the really cool thing is that you can grab this directly, so you can actually move your camera to where you want within this window itself. And that's really cool because you could have the scene view open maybe over here. And you don't want to have to keep swapping back to the game view to see what it's going to look like. So you don't have to keep positioning like this and then going back and seeing what's going on. You can immediately see the preview in that little window there. Now, before we continue, I'm just going to address this little box up here. So this little box will show to indicate that you have some missing implementations for some of the GUI. So Slate can not only control the camera and objects, but it can also do some cool things like subtitles, overlay texts, overlay images, screen fades, and also camera dissolves. And so in order to fix this error and make sure that we have access to all of these features, we just need to add the director GUI prefab. And we can find that by going to Paradox Notion, Slate, and it's right there. We drag that in, and you see that message disappears, and we're going to have access to use all of this, which I'm going to go over later. All right, so let's make a second camera shot, and let's see how we can move from one camera shot to another. So I'm going to right-click again, create a camera shot clip, and again, I'm just going to create a shot camera, so Slate can automatically do that for me. Now, what's important to note is that this is actually created from where my scene viewport is currently, where my scene camera is. So if I move down here and position maybe I like this angle. I could position it in the scene, create a shot camera, and that's going to create it from there. Now, of course, I can also find my shot camera like this, move around in my scene, Control Shift F, and that's going to frame that as well. You see, like that. And then once I've done that, I can make small adjustments if I want to in this window here. Very convenient. Very intuitive workflow. So actually, it's kind of a cool angle. Actually, I like that. All right, so we'll have this one as the second shot. And let's fix the third shot here. So I want to show this tree. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Now, of course, we can also change other camera parameters, like the field of view. Maybe we want it to be 40 instead. Dolly out like that. Now, I can always change the order of these shots by just doing that. So now I start with the rooftops, I go into here, and then I'm over here. So one really cool thing we can do is, instead of just cutting from one camera to another, we can do a crossfade. So I'm going to crossfade from this shot into this shot. And to do that, I'm going to select this clip here, and I'm going to change the blend in effect to a cross dissolve. It's set to cross dissolve, but it's not overlapping anything right now. And so to make it properly do it, we'll just drag it across like that. And you see that creates this nice cross section here. And we can scrub through and you see it cross fades from one camera to another really nicely. And if I want, I can move this further in, but you'll see when I move that clip, I'm actually moving the transition, so the transition becomes longer. So what we actually wanted to do here was we wanted to reduce the time that this was on, but not increase the blend duration. And so to fix that, I can grab this little white handle here, and I can pull it in like that. And there we go. So now we've got our shorter duration for the first clip, but we've still got the duration of the fade that we want. So you can also do an ease transition. So for example, let's say I copy this. So I'm going to copy this clip, paste that clip there. Now, one thing to remember is that I have copied this, and so it's actually using the same clip here. So if I modify that, you see both of these clips are referencing that same shot. So when you copy it, if you don't want it to be the same shot, you have to make sure to replace that shot camera. So I can click Replace Shot, and instead of choosing an existing shot, I'm going to create a shot. All right, and remember that was from where our scene view camera was, but I actually want it to be from where this was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this. I'm going to copy the transform values of this. So I'm going to copy the component. Then I'm going to paste these into here. And now I have the same starting shot, but when I modify this one, the one before does not get modified because we have a unique thing now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to slowly rotate down a little bit. All right. And here, instead of cross dissolve, I'm going to use ease in. And what that's going to do is it's going to transition the position from this camera to this camera. It's quite a fast transition. So what we're going to do is make this longer. So I can control that like this. And I can just pull that clip out like that. And I can tell it exactly how many seconds. Maybe I want it to be 5 seconds. I can write 5 in there. And that clip is now going to take 5 seconds. And again, I can just change my transition, change my blend in time, and that's going to make that ease smoother and smoother like that. I can adjust it like this. There we go. We can scrub through at any time. So it's a really good way to iteratively work on something. You don't have to keep going into play mode to see what's going to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen when we play it in the game. All right, so let's have a look at the audio track now. So we added this clip before, but it's red because we don't have an audio clip assigned. And that's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is find an audio clip in your project and assign it. So in this case, I'm going to assign this music clip. And what you'll see here is that I have all these options for volume, pitch, stereo pan. Now what you'll notice is that this is clearly not the length of the audio of the music that we want to play, but we can very quickly change that by clicking match clip length. And that's going to basically extend it until it reaches the end. Now, our music clip is actually longer than our timeline. So what we can do here is we can right click and we can say split at cursor. Select that, delete, and there we go. Now our clip is properly within our timeline. And in editor mode as well, we can preview the audio. So if I play this, so we already have a really epic sounding cutscene. Now, when making cutscenes, we don't want to be limited to just having music. We obviously want to have other things like ambient sound effects or sound effects that happen based on action in the scene and things like that. And so in order to add more sound here, what we want to do is we want to add another track. So to do this, you have to stop playing the cutscene. So press that stop button there. And now you can press this plus button, add a track, and we're going to add another audio track. And we're actually going to add two. So we have our music track here, which we can name over here. So I've selected that track and I'm going to call that music. I'm going to call this one ambience, and I'm going to call this one SFX, sound effects. Now I could also assign these to the output mixes if I had them. We're not going to bother with that for this tutorial though. So let's add some ambient sounds. So I've got like a garden sound. So I'm going to right click, audio clip. I'm going to add that clip there, press the match clip length, and I'm just going to move that over there like that. And then I also have a howling wolf sound effect. So I'll put that in there, match the clip length, and you see this one shows us that the clip will end at that point there. So as we work on this, we can adjust the position until we get somewhere where we like. And we can also scrub through. So maybe I want the wolf howl to start around here. Actually, let's start it as we move up. Now, when working on audio, this is very nice because we can sample exactly where it is. But obviously, when we are working on other parts of the cutscene, scrubbing through is going to get really annoying. And so what you can do is just turn off the audio here, mute the audio here, and now you're not going to get bothered by that. And then when you want to sample audio again, turn it on. And that works really well. Now, I can also, depending on the clip, change the volume. So I can change the volume here to be a lot lower, because maybe we want them to be a little bit distant. There we go. We can also change it over here. So we can have the master volume higher or lower. So we could change the music to be maybe 70%. Anyway, that's a basic overview of how that audio works. So let's have a look at the director action track. So I can, again, right click in there, and I have a bunch of different things here. We're not going to go over all of them, but we'll have a look at rendering, and we're going to use a screen fader. So when I have this screen fader, what it's going to do is when I enter it, it's going to fade to whatever this color is. So for example, red. Just like that. So we could use this if we wanted to maybe start our cutscene from black. But we can also use it basically anywhere we want. So we could fade to black for a little bit, then fade back out if we wanted to for this clip. And you see, as I move, the clip actually aligns really nicely with other clips. And so I can make that exactly over that. There we go. So we're not actually going to use that, but we could overlay text, for instance. So I can put this here, and I could say something dramatic like 5 years prior or something like that. And that comes up there like this. And we can expand this, and that's going to make it stay longer on the screen. We can change the size of the text. We can change the position of the text. And it's all updating in real time in the editor, so we don't have to guess about what it's going to look like in the game. All right, so let's stop that cutscene so we can edit the groups again. And what I want to do now is I want to fold that up. So I'm going to add an actor group, and an actor group allows us to modify a game object. And so that could be any object in the scene. So for example, let's make a sphere. So I have this basic sphere over here. Just going to turn all these gizmos off. There we go. So I have this sphere. Let's just make it a bit smaller. Okay, and I can just drag that into that swatch there. And that's going to target that sphere now. I could also just drag it directly in. This is convenient. It creates an action group just like that. And we have an action track. And so what I can do with this ball is I can right click here, and now I have all of these different options. So for example, translate to, translate by, rotate to, this kind of thing. So for example, if I do translate by, and I'm going to translate it by maybe 5 units on the z-axis, and as I scrub through, you see it moves. Just like that. What we can also do is we can animate the properties of anything on this. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click Animate Properties. And now this is going to allow me to animate any properties that I have on me. So for example, I'm going to animate my position. So I'm going to add property, self, transform, position. All right. And now what we can do is we can move this. So let's move it to 2 units on the Y. We can press this key button here. So I click my clip, I press this key button, that goes red. So that's showing that we've got a keyframe put here. Now I move it over here. Let's move it to 1, and I can create a new key here, or because I have auto keying enabled, I can grab the object itself and I can move it down. And you see that little circle there? That's indicated that it's created another key there at that point. All right, so let's just get it on the ground. Maybe there is okay. So now when I play, it goes to that point there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this ball to bounce up and down. So I'm going to expand this, and I can right click that key, copy key, and I can move over here, right click, paste key at cursor or paste key at scrubber. If I paste the key at the cursor, it's going to, for example, paste it here. But in this case, I want to paste it where I put my scrubber. So I'm going to paste key at scrubber, and that's going to paste it right there. Copy this again, go to 3, paste it scrubber. I'm just going to keep doing that until there. Whoops. See there, I pasted at the cursor by mistake. Paste that scrubber. It's perfectly on 7. And there it is. Now it's not a very realistic motion, and that's because there's actually curves that have been created that set how it eases from one to another. Now this is a very important concept when it comes to animation. Animations usually work on curves, and that's what gives them a lot of personality. And Slate allows you to modify these curves so that we get the best results possible. So here on our transform track, you see this little curve button here. If I press this, it's going to show me the properties that are animated, and it's going to show me their curves. So you see we have the keyframes as indicated by the circles on the clip, and we have the curves underneath. Now, what you'll see is that it's kind of hard to see or to edit these curves right now because they're quite small. We can select these ones which we care about. We don't care about the blue one. The blue one is the z-axis, and we're not moving on the z-axis. We only care about the green one, actually, the y-axis. So we can grab all of that and press F to frame. Let's do it again. So we've just got our y-axis. And so you see this is the curve that the motion is following. So you see as it gets to the top, it starts to slow down its speed. But what we really want it to do is we want it to look like this, like a ball bouncing. So we want it to, as it gets higher, to get a bit slower, but as it goes down to get a lot faster. Right now, these are kind of easing too much. With Slate, you can edit all the curves, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, for the simple example, grab all of these. I can click both tangents and make them linear. All right. And now I'll make them free. And that's going to allow me to grab these little handles here and move my curve. And I want to grab this one as well and move that so it's all nice and the same. And let's make that one flat. Here we go. So our curve looks pretty nice here. Let's see what it looks like. All right, so the motion looks much, much better. So it's not actually that ideal that we are manually having to upkeep all of this, right? Wouldn't it be much nicer if we could just have this motion here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these keyframes. So we just have this. Then I can press this button here and I can change post-wrap mode to be loop. And you see now we get a nice preview of what our curve is going to look like, and we can fix it across the board. So we notice that this has a little bit of a weird kink. So we're going to right click, make it flat, and now that's a lot smoother. So I can just drag this here, and let's say, yeah, we'll just put it at 0.5 and put the other one at 1, and see how that looks. All right, so that's much better. So let's add a nice sound to go with that bouncing ball. So what I can do is I can actually add an audio track directly into the sphere, like this. And that's really nice because I don't have to worry about matching everything up on the top level. I can keep the audio nice and localized to their group themselves. And so if I disable a group, the audio will be disabled as well. So I'm going to add the basketball sound here. And you see, while I'm editing this, it's kind of annoying having the director stuff. So what I can do is I can right click and disable that group. And now as I edit my sphere, I don't have to worry about all the extra audio coming in from that director group. You can see here on the preview of it, I can see where the bounce happens. That's basically covering how the keyframes work. And let's have a look at something a little bit more exciting. Let's put a character into the cutscene. So I'm going to disable this track like that. So we have the director disabled, the sphere disabled, and that's great. We can really easily work on our character track without getting bothered by anything else. So I'm going to drag a character into the scene. So we have this character here. And I've downloaded some animations already from Mixamo, where you can get a lot of cool humanoid animations. I'm not going to go into deep animation workflows in this video, but I just want to show off really basically how it will work. So again, we just drag the character into a Slate Sequencer, and you see we have an action track like we had before, but we also have an animator track. And what I'm going to do there is right click animation clip, and I'm going to add an animation. So I've added a waving animation. There he is. And you see as we scrub through, it works. If we play forward or if we play backwards, it all works very smoothly. Now, what if we want him to wave like this, and then we want him to do something else? So right now, after he waves, he's going to stay in this position. He's going to freeze. But maybe we want him to do a backflip. So we add another animation clip, drag backflip into there, match clip length like that. Make this a bit smaller. There we go. All right. Well, let's say we want him to run across this bridge. Now, the animations I'm using are using root motion, so the animation is actually driving where the character is going to be, and this is fully supported in Slate. I'm not going to go in depth about it, but for now, we're going to use a run animation or a walk animation. You see here, he's going to walk across the bridge. Now, obviously, as you've noticed, he's actually walking through the bridge, which is not ideal. In addition to that, he is walking not really in the path that the bridge defines. And so to fix this, let's fix the direction first. All right, so what we can do is we can grab him and we can change his rotation like this. And now he walks across the bridge. You can also change the rotation in the animation here, local rotation offset. So let's say when we get here, well, let's make him walk across the bridge. And right now he walks completely straight, but let's make him kind of walk around here. So you can do this. Then you can click key for the local rotation offset, move him around here, move that, let's say 35. Now he walks across the bridge, and then he kind of turns. So there he goes, and he turns around there. So it's a cool way that you can use a root motion walk or run or whatever motion, but still control where the characters go. So we can make him stop here maybe, and we can make him do a fist pump. I want to match the clip length. All right. Now, as you can see, it doesn't really look great, but he does this immediately. And what we can do is we can actually transition between them like that. Now you see he naturally slows down and does his little fist pump. So let's fix the other issue, which is that he's clipping through things. He's clipping through the bridge, he's clipping through the rocks. So Slate has a really cool way to deal with this. You can add a clip here on the transform, simple grounder. It's going to try to set his transform position to be on the ground. So I'm going to drag that across the whole thing. Now we see him. There he goes. And he's actually walking over the bridge and over the rocks. All right, so that's basically how the animation works. Really straightforward and really intuitive. I can replace any of these gestures at any time without worrying about much at all. If I want to change the fist pump or change it to a kick, there we go. There we go. So he's going to walk over there and do a kick. So now let's go back to our director. We can press that little eye icon to re-enable it, our director group, and let's see what it looks like. So we go through there and we see there, he's walking around there. And we come up here to this shot. So maybe we want to actually show him. So I'm just going to move this shot at the end, create a new shot here, go over here, create a shot camera, change its settings. I can grab multiple clips and move them like that because I liked where that wolf howling was. There we go. And what I want to do is I want to make sure he's still in frame. So I'm just going to move this down and move it in as well. Move it in like that. And there we go. So we're going to keep him in frame. And let's just get rid of that shot. Actually, no, I like that shot. Let's put it back. Let's get rid of this shot. But let's make this shot happen later. All right. And as the last thing, I'm going to show you how you can use subtitles. So it's really intuitive. What I can do is I can add an audio track. So I'm going to add a track to the director group. And this is going to be my voices track. And I'm going to add an audio clip here. Now I just used some AI generator for the voices. All right, so I've added it there. I'm going to match the clip length, move it here. All right, and let's play it.
Hey, I'm over here.
So what I can do is I can actually write the subtitles directly in here.
Hey, I'm over here.
And you see they come on the screen and they go away nicely with that clip. So let's add a few more voices.
Hey, I'm over here.
The strange blue man walked gleefully across the bridge.
Why do I have a narrator?
Hey, why don't I get subtitles?
So there we go. That's a basic overview of Slate, how intuitive it is to use, and some of the tools at your disposal. Let's have a look at the cutscene in full, and let's actually play it in play mode. So I'm going to play on start, maximize that, and let's play.
Hey, I'm over here.
The strange blue man walked gleefully across the bridge.
Why do I have a narrator?
Hey, why don't I get subtitles?
All right, so hopefully you learned something from this, and you can now get into Slate and make some really cool cutscenes.